I'll never forget the day I got slapped by a store manager in my husband's boutique. She had no idea I was the billionaire's wife who actually owned the place. I was just dressed casually that day. What happened next will shock you. Hey everyone, I'm Angela, and today I'm sharing the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me. Before I tell you this crazy story, please hit subscribe and the bell icon. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. So let me take you back to that awful day that changed everything. My name is Angela Martinez, I'm 25 years old, and my life is nothing like what people expect when they hear I'm married to a billionaire. 2 years ago, I was just a regular college graduate working at a coffee shop, struggling to pay my student loans and living in a tiny apartment with 3 roommates. Then I met Daniel at that same coffee shop where I worked. He came in every Tuesday and Thursday, always ordered the same thing, a black coffee and a blueberry muffin, and always left a $20 tip that I tried to refuse, but he insisted I keep. For 3 months, we had these little conversations while I made his coffee. He never mentioned what he did for work, never flashed expensive watches or talked about money. He just seemed like this really sweet, down-to-earth guy who was genuinely interested in my dreams and goals. When he finally asked me out, I said yes, because he made me laugh and feel comfortable in my own skin. It wasn't until our 3rd date, when he picked me up in a car that probably cost more than most people's houses, that I realized Daniel Martinez wasn't just some regular guy. He was the Daniel Martinez, owner of Golden Crown Enterprises, a luxury retail empire worth over $3 billion. Our relationship moved fast after that, but not because of his money. Daniel loved that I treated him like a normal person, and I loved that despite his wealth, he never made me feel small or insignificant. When we got married 18 months later, it was a simple ceremony with just our families. No media circus, no society pages, just 2 people who genuinely loved each other. But adjusting to being a billionaire's wife? That's been the hardest part of this whole journey. Daniel always tells me to dress, however makes me comfortable, to be myself, and never to change who I am for anyone. That's easy to say, but when you're constantly surrounded by people in designer clothes and expensive jewelry, it's hard not to feel like you don't belong. I still prefer my jeans and sneakers, my comfortable t-shirts, and my canvas bags. Daniel says it's one of the things he loves most about me, that I haven't let his world change my authentic self, but sometimes that authenticity comes with consequences I never expected. About 6 months ago, Daniel started receiving complaints about the staff at his flagship Golden Crown boutique downtown. Customers were saying the employees were rude, judgmental, and treated people differently based on their appearance. Daniel was incredibly busy with a major business expansion at the time, flying between meetings in 3 different countries, so he couldn't investigate personally. That's when I volunteered to help. I thought it would be simple, just walk into the store, observe how the staff behaved, and report back. I had no idea I was about to experience firsthand exactly what those customers had been complaining about. The morning I decided to visit the store, I got dressed like I always do. I put on my favorite pair of jeans, the ones that are perfectly broken in and incredibly comfortable, and a soft pink t-shirt that Daniel bought me on our first trip together. I added my old denim jacket, the one I've had since college, and slipped on my white sneakers that have seen better days but are still the most comfortable shoes I own. I left all my expensive jewelry at home except for my simple wedding ring, and instead of carrying one of the designer purses Daniel's bought me, I grabbed my trusty canvas bag that's been with me for years. Looking in the mirror, I saw exactly what I wanted to see. A normal 25-year-old woman heading out for some shopping. I looked approachable, casual, and completely unremarkable, which was perfect for what I needed to do. I had no idea that this ordinary outfit would soon make me the target of the most humiliating experience of my life. The Golden Crown Boutique downtown is Daniel's pride and joy. It's a 3-story masterpiece with marble floors imported from Italy, crystal chandeliers that sparkle like stars, and the most beautiful designer collections from around the world. Every detail was carefully chosen to create an atmosphere of luxury and elegance. As I walked through those glass doors, I should have felt proud. This was my husband's vision brought to life. Instead, I immediately felt out of place. The moment I stepped inside, conversation seemed to quiet. I could feel eyes on me, assessing my appearance and finding it lacking. Other customers, dressed in their designer outfits with their expensive handbags, glanced at me with barely concealed disdain. The sales staff, who should have greeted me with the warm welcome that every customer deserves, instead watched me with suspicious eyes. I tried to shake off the uncomfortable feeling and remind myself why I was there, but it was hard to ignore the obvious judgment in the air. I walked slowly through the ground floor, admiring pieces that Daniel had personally selected during our buying trips. There was a gorgeous purple silk blouse that I remembered him being excited about, and a collection of evening gowns that had taken months to source from exclusive designers. As I reached out to feel the fabric of a beautiful dress, a voice behind me made me freeze. "Excuse me, can I help you find something affordable?" I turned around to face a tall, blonde woman who looked to be in her early 30s. She was impeccably dressed in a cream-colored business suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled perfectly, and she carried herself with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you hold power over others. Her name tag read Madison Store Manager, and the smile on her face was the fakest thing I'd ever seen. "Oh, hi," I said, trying to sound friendly despite the obvious sarcasm in her greeting. "I was hoping to look at some dresses, actually." Madison's laugh was sharp and cruel, loud enough that other customers turned to watch our interaction. "Honey, do you know where you are? This isn't Target or some discount store. This is Golden Crown Boutique. Our cheapest item costs more than your entire outfit." The words hit me like a physical slap. I felt my cheeks burn with embarrassment, but I forced myself to stay calm. "I understand this is an expensive store," I said quietly, "but I'd still like to look around if that's okay." "Look around?" Madison's voice got louder, more theatrical. "This isn't a museum, sweetie. We're not here to provide entertainment for people who can't afford to shop here. Maybe you should try the mall down the street. I think there's a nice department store there that's more in your price range." By now, we had definitely attracted attention. I could see other customers pulling out their phones, probably thinking they were about to witness some kind of drama for their social media feeds. The sales staff had stopped what they were doing to watch our conversation unfold. I felt trapped, humiliated, but also increasingly angry. This was my husband's store, and this employee was treating a potential customer, me, with complete disrespect. "I'd still like to browse," I said, my voice a little stronger now. "I'm not causing any trouble. I'm just looking at your merchandise." Madison stepped closer to me, her voice dropping to what she probably thought was a threatening whisper but was still loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Listen, I'm trying to be nice here, but you're making our real customers uncomfortable. People come here for a luxury shopping experience, not to have to look at, well, this." She gestured at my outfit with obvious disgust. That's when something inside me snapped, not into anger but into a strange sort of clarity. I realized that this woman, this employee of my husband's company, was giving me a perfect demonstration of exactly what the customer complaints had been about. "What if I told you I could afford to shop here?" I asked calmly. "Would that change how you're treating me?" Madison's eyes lit up with malicious glee. "Prove it," she said loudly, making sure everyone in the store could hear. "Show me you have at least $500 cash right now, or I'm calling security to escort you out." The demand was so outrageous, so far beyond any reasonable customer service standard, that I almost laughed, but instead I reached into my canvas bag to look for my wallet. I wanted to see just how far this woman would take her power trip. As I rummaged through my bag, my elbow accidentally bumped against a small jewelry display near the register. A delicate gold bracelet, one I recognized as part of Daniel's new spring collection, fell to the marble floor with a soft clink. Madison's reaction was immediate and dramatic. "Oh my God!" she shrieked, pointing at me like I had just committed murder. "She's stealing! I saw her slip that bracelet into her bag. Everyone saw it!" The accusation hit me like a tsunami of shock and humiliation. Not only was it completely false, but she was accusing me of stealing my own husband's merchandise. "I didn't take anything," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos erupting around me. "It just fell when I bumped the display accidentally." "Right, sure it did." Madison sneered, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "That's what they all say. Jake," she called to a young security guard who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else in the world. "This woman is shoplifting. I need you to detain her and check her bag." Jake approached reluctantly, his face showing clear discomfort with the situation. "Ma'am," he said quietly, apologetically, "I'm going to need to ask you to open your bag so we can verify that nothing was taken." This was my moment. I could have ended everything right there by showing my ID, calling Daniel, or simply revealing who I was. But I was fascinated in the most horrible way by how far Madison was willing to take this. How badly would she treat someone she believed had no power, no voice, no way to fight back? "I haven't stolen anything," I repeated, my voice calm but with a slight tremor that I hoped sounded like fear rather than anger. "You have security cameras throughout the store. Check them if you want to see what really happened." Madison laughed coldly. "Oh, we will definitely be checking those cameras, but first you're going to show us what's in that ratty old bag of yours, and then we're going to call the police." The word police sent a murmur through the growing crowd of onlookers. I could see at least 6 people recording with their phones now, probably thinking they were about to witness an arrest. The situation had spiraled so far beyond reality that I felt like I was watching it happen to someone else. "Look," I said, trying one last time to give Madison a chance to step back from the cliff she was about to jump off. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. Maybe you should call the owner before this goes any further. I'm actually what?" Madison cut me off with vicious glee. "Actually, a thief? Actually someone who thinks she can come into a high-end store and steal whatever she wants because she thinks no one will notice? Actually someone who's about to be arrested?" I tried to show her my phone, thinking maybe I could call Daniel and let him handle this diplomatically. But Madison knocked it out of my hand with such force that it skittered across the marble floor and came to rest near a display of evening gowns. "No calling your friends to come bail you out," she snarled. "You're not going anywhere until the police get here." That's when I said the words that I thought might finally get through to her. "My husband owns this store." The effect was not what I expected. Instead of giving Madison pause, instead of making her think twice about her actions, it sent her into what I can only describe as a frenzy of cruel laughter. "Your husband," she gasped between fits of laughter. "Your husband owns Golden Crown Boutique? What does he do? Empty the trash cans at night? Clean the windows? Maybe he's the guy who mops the floors after we close." The crowd was eating it up. Some people were laughing along with Madison. Others looked uncomfortable but didn't speak up. The young security guard looked like he wanted to disappear. And I stood there in my jeans and sneakers, being mocked and humiliated in my own husband's store by his own employee. "You know what?" Madison said, her voice rising to a pitch that could probably be heard throughout the entire first floor. "I've had enough of this pathetic little fantasy of yours. Time for you to face reality." That's when she did it. Without any warning, without giving anyone a chance to intervene, Madison drew back her hand and slapped me hard across the face. The sound of her palm connecting with my cheek echoed through the entire store like a gunshot. For a moment, everything went completely silent. The laughter stopped. The whispered conversation stopped. Even the soft background music seemed to pause. Everyone just stared in shock at what had just happened. My face burned where she had hit me, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the emotional trauma of being assaulted in front of all these people. I raised my hand to my cheek, feeling the heat radiating from the spot where her hand had connected. But more than hurt, I felt something else, a strange sort of calm determination. I walked over to where my phone had skittered across the floor and picked it up carefully. My hands weren't shaking, which surprised me. Madison was saying something about how I deserved it and how I should learn my place, but I wasn't really listening anymore. I was focused on my phone, scrolling through my contacts to find the number I needed. "Hi, Daniel," I said when he answered, my voice perfectly steady and calm. "I'm at the downtown store. You need to come here right now. And bring security. Madison, who had been basking in the approval of some of the watching customers, suddenly focused on my phone call. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Who are you calling?" I ignored her and made a second call. "This is Mrs. Angela Martinez," I said to the head of Daniel's corporate security team. "I need you at the downtown Golden Crown location immediately. There's been an incident." The use of my married name seemed to finally penetrate Madison's consciousness. Her face, which had been flushed with excitement and power just moments before, began to show the first signs of uncertainty. "Martinez?" she repeated, her voice smaller now. That's not your real name. You're making this up." I didn't respond. I just stood there, holding my phone, waiting. The crowd of onlookers seemed to sense that something had shifted, that the dynamic of the situation was about to change dramatically. Some people started putting away their phones, perhaps realizing that they might not want to be on record for what was about to happen. It took exactly 12 minutes for Daniel to arrive. I know because I was watching the clock on my phone, counting down the seconds until my husband walked through those glass doors. When he did, followed by 3 members of his security team, the atmosphere in the store changed instantly. Daniel Martinez doesn't look like what most people expect when they think of a billionaire. He's not flashy, doesn't wear gaudy jewelry or carry himself with arrogance, but there's something about his presence that immediately commands respect. Maybe it's the way he carries himself with quiet confidence, or the way people instinctively step aside when he walks by, or maybe it's just the knowledge that this man has the power to change lives with a single decision. Madison's face went through several stages of realization as she watched Daniel stride across the store toward me. First confusion, then recognition, then a dawning horror as she began to understand exactly what was happening. "That's my wife you just assaulted," Daniel said, his voice quiet but carrying clearly throughout the store. His arm went around my shoulders protectively, and I felt some of the tension I'd been holding finally start to release. I stood up straighter, finding my voice again. "I'm Angela Martinez," I announced to the room, though I was looking directly at Madison. "And my husband owns this store, this entire chain, and the company that employs every person in this building." Madison's face went through one final transformation, from pale uncertainty to absolute white terror. Her mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. The other customers were whispering excitedly now, phones coming back out to capture this dramatic reversal. "You ... Madison finally managed to stammer. "You can't be... you're dressed like a normal person?" I finished for her. "Like someone who values comfort over appearances? Like someone who doesn't think expensive clothes make them better than other people?" Daniel was furious. I could feel it radiating from him in waves, but his voice remained controlled. "I want to see the security footage from the last hour," he told his team. "All of it." "That won't be necessary," I said quietly. "Everyone here witnessed what happened, and I'm sure several people recorded it." I looked around the room at the phones that were still pointing in our direction. Madison fell to her knees right there on the marble floor, literally fell to her knees. "Please," she begged, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. "I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Please don't fire me. I need this job. I have bills. I have rent." For a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy for her. Then I remembered the cruelty in her voice when she was mocking what she thought was my husband's job. I remembered the laughter when she slapped me. I remembered every customer who had probably been treated the same way by this woman. "You're right," I said calmly. "You didn't know who I was. And that's exactly the problem. You treated me terribly not because of anything I did, but because of how I looked. Because you thought I didn't have the power to fight back." Daniel squeezed my shoulder gently. "What do you want to do?" he asked quietly. I thought about it for a long moment. I could destroy Madison's life. I could have her arrested for assault. I could make sure she never worked in retail again. But what would that accomplish? "You're fired," I said simply. "Effective immediately. You'll receive your final paycheck and 2 weeks of severance pay, which is more generosity than you showed me. But you're banned from all Golden Crown properties, and if you ever assault another customer anywhere, I'll make sure the whole world knows exactly what kind of person you are." Madison was sobbing now, but she managed to nod and whisper thank you through her tears. Daniel's security team helped her gather her things and escorted her out while she was still crying. After she was gone, I turned to address the crowd of onlookers who were still watching this drama unfold. "I want everyone here to understand something," I said, my voice carrying clearly through the store. "What happened here today was wrong on every level. No customer should ever be treated the way I was treated, regardless of how they're dressed or how much money you think they have. Everyone deserves basic human respect and dignity." Some people in the crowd looked ashamed. Others were nodding in agreement. A few tried to apologize for not speaking up, but I waved them off. I understood why they hadn't intervened. It's human nature to avoid confrontation, especially when you think it doesn't involve you. The young security guard, Jake, approached us hesitantly. "Mrs. Martinez," he said quietly, "I'm really sorry about what happened. I should have stopped it, but she was my supervisor and You were put in an impossible position," I told him gently. "Don't worry about it." Daniel spent the next hour implementing immediate changes. The entire staff had to attend sensitivity training within the week. New policies were put in place about how customers should be treated regardless of their appearance. And most importantly, every employee was reminded that their job was to provide excellent service to every person who walked through those doors. As we were leaving the store, Daniel took my hand and stopped walking. "I'm proud of you," he said, "for how you handled that. For the grace you showed even after being assaulted. You could have destroyed that woman's life, but you chose mercy instead." "She made a mistake," I said. "A terrible, cruel mistake. But everyone deserves a chance to learn from their mistakes and become better." The video of Madison slapping me did go viral, just like I expected it would. But the story that emerged wasn't the one Madison probably hoped for when she first saw me walk into the store. Instead, it became a powerful reminder about treating everyone with kindness and respect, regardless of appearances. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive, with people sharing their own stories of being judged based on how they looked. 3 weeks later, I received an unexpected message on social media. It was from Madison. She had found a new job at a small boutique across town, and she wanted to thank me for giving her a second chance when I could have ruined her life. She said the experience had taught her something important about empathy and respect, and that she was working hard to become a better person. I was glad to hear it. That day at the store changed me too. I realized that I had been judging myself just as harshly as Madison had judged me. I had been feeling like I didn't belong in Daniel's world because I didn't look like what people expected a billionaire's wife to look like. But Daniel fell in love with me exactly as I am, and that's never going to change. Now I dress however makes me happy, regardless of the setting. If I want to wear jeans to a charity gala, I wear jeans. If I want to carry my canvas bag to a business meeting, I carry my canvas bag. And if anyone has a problem with that, well, they can take it up with my husband. More importantly, that experience taught me never to make assumptions about people based on their appearance. You never know who you're talking to, what their story is, or what they might be going through. The person serving your coffee might be working 3 jobs to pay for medical school. The woman in the worn coat might be a millionaire who chooses to live simply. The quiet man in the corner might be a genius who's about to change the world. The Golden Crown Boutique downtown is still Daniel's flagship store, but now it's known for something different. Instead of being a place where people are judged by their wallets, it's become famous for treating every customer like royalty, regardless of how they're dressed or how much money they appear to have. Sales have actually increased since we implemented the new policies, proving that kindness really is good business. So that's my story. The day I got slapped in my own husband's store and learned one of the most important lessons of my life. It was humiliating and painful, but it taught me to stand up for myself and never to judge anyone based on their appearance. Have you ever been treated badly because of how you looked? Or maybe you've caught yourself making assumptions about someone based on their clothes or appearance? Tell me your story in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this crazy chapter from my life, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more real stories that will make you think. And remember, you never know who you're talking to, so always choose kindness. I'm Angela, and I'll see you in the next story, that will make you think.